Hi, I'm John Malice. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. Today we're going to have some fun on the program. It's a Friday morning on the showroom floor, my friends, and we have a comedian in the house, a longtime comedian. You're going to know the face, you're going to know the name, and guess what? He's performing tonight in the city of Fresno. Furthermore, I'm giving away 3 sets of tickets. 436-ME-TV, option 11 if you want to call in and weigh in on the program. Back in just a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Glad you're back here on the program on a Connect with Me show on a Friday morning here, because we're going to have some laughs, and you can call in at 436-ME-TV, option 11. And I think Telly Savalas just dropped out of the sky right behind me there. We'll fix it during the break anyway.
Hey, fix that, will you, trucker? Yeah, give me a lollipop.
That's just a little taste of what you're going to get this morning here on the program. We'll be here for the entire hour. Quick programming note before I get into today's monologue, and then I'll introduce the guest. And that is on Monday, Dennis Hart, our political analyst, is going to be here. He's going to talk about the ramifications and the fallout of that vote that took place in the House on Trump Care. Is it Trump Care? We already have a phone call. I haven't even introduced the guest yet. That's right. All right, I'm going to put this call on hold. Caller, can you hang on for a moment? I'll get to you right after the monologue. Is that okay? All right, all right. So anyways, I was saying Dennis Hart is going to be here on Monday. So how is this going to affect you? Will the bill ever reach the Senate floor? And if it does, will it pass? Will the president sign it? Will he like it? But more importantly, how's it going to affect the people right here in the Central Valley and the state of California if Obamacare goes bye-bye? And how will it affect the elections next year, the midterm? So that's with Dennis Hart on Monday. On Tuesday, real quick, Manchester Center, the GM is going to be here talking about all the changes that are going on over there. For now, you're watching us live on Comcast Channel 375. As usual, it's Comcast Cable TV all up and down the Central Valley. If you don't have Comcast Cable, you can watch us Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning, a live call-in show, 43.6 and 13.1 over-the-air broadcast with one of those digital antennas that we have here at Ventura TV, or you can buy them anywhere, actually. And then the replay of this program comes later in the day, like it or not, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. After that, we're on YouTube until the end of time. Our guest today is a longtime comedian. He's a funny guy, and just, you know, I can't look over there because he's going to make me laugh, and I won't get through the monologue, okay? But I got to tell you something. Dean Martin once introduced him, and I watched this on YouTube, and I kind of remember this as a young guy. Dean Martin introduced him at the Dean Martin Celebrity Roast or Host or whatever you want to call it, way back when it was all over television. You can catch those on YouTube. He said, you know, my next guest, he can be anybody he wants to be. Why he chose to be Rich Little is beyond me. All right, I thought that was one of the funniest lines I've ever heard, but he is known as the man of 1,000 voices, and tonight at the California Armenian Home, Rich Little is going to be performing. I have 3 sets of tickets. The first 3 callers that get in will get a pair of these tickets to see Rich Little. Rich Little, a longtime comedian. He was with Dean Martin. He's been with all the big-time celebrities, and he was a regular with my favorite talk show host of all time, Johnny Carson.
You in my act now, doing your monologue, and then bringing on Richard Nixon as your first guest.
Oh.
And
Just do a little bit.
Nixon comes out. He's been working with Bob Hope for 2 weeks, and I say, my first guest is Mr. Richard Milhouse Nixon. You remember him? No. Well, we forget so soon. No. For the past couple of weeks, Mr. Nixon's been working with Bob Hope, and Bob's been helping the president with his. See how I goof like you? That little trip. That took 2 weeks to get that. No, he's been working with Bob Hope for the past couple of weeks. And here is the brand new President of the United States after only 2 weeks' work with Mr. Bob Hope. And then I come out, Nixon comes out.
This is Richard. How I love to be President Nixon. I want to tell you, my fellow Americans, I just got back from Hollywood where I was working on a new motion picture. It's called Planet of the Tapes.
Live in our studio right now is the man of 1,000 voices, longtime comedian, Rich Little. Welcome to the program, sir.
Boy, that takes me back.
Well, it wasn't all that long ago, actually. It wasn't. It really wasn't. The 70s, not all that long ago. You know what I mean?
I don't know. For me, it was, but I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to come back. We have a phone call. We got some tickets to give away. Rich Little performing tonight at the California Armenian Home right here in the city of Fresno. Starts at 6, the dinner does, and then the show gets underway at 7 o'clock. Back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Joseph Castro, president of Fresno State. Here on campus and around the Central Valley, we take great pride in Bulldog Red. We also take pride in our diversity and our academic and athletic achievements. On Wednesday, May 10th, it will be my pleasure to join John Malos on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno for a 1-hour interview to talk about all the great things happening at Fresno State. See you then.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Well, if I start laughing, Mr. Little, and I can't control myself on the show, I'm going to expect you to continue on with the show. You're going to have to carry the program, in other words, because you are a funny guy.
Well, looking at that clip from The Tonight Show brings back memories. I was just thinking, watching it, that Johnny Carson was laughing behind me, but he never saw me because he only saw the back of my head.
Didn't he have a monitor?
No, there was no monitor. Well, wait
like
a minute.
A monitor like this. I
Well,
mean,
there was a monitor, yeah, way over to the left. But most of the time, if you watch him, he's reacting, but he's not really seeing your face. Mm-hmm. But he was such a good audience, and he loved comedy, and well, he was just the best host ever, I think. Johnny Carson.
Before we get to our phone call, you were talking about, because leading into this program, we had Perry Mason on. All right, tell your story about Perry Mason.
Well, Raymond Burr came on a show I did called Copycats in England. It was all impersonators. And we had different guest stars every week, and we brought them over from the United States because we did the show in England.
Yeah.
And Raymond Burr came over to do the show, and I didn't imitate Raymond Burr, and I worked on his voice, knowing he was coming to do the show, and I watched all the Perry Mason shows and studied it, and I noticed that when he talked, he does that breathing thing.
Yeah.
And he'll go like, Paul, take this gun down to ballistics and look for fingerprints. I do believe we found the murderer. And it was that breathing thing that he did, And if you watch the show, you'll see that. And so when I met him, he said, Rich. I said, yes, Mr. Mason. I mean, yes, Perry. Yes, Mr. Burr. Have you got my voice down yet? And I said, and then I did it for him. And then I said to him, why do you breathe like that at the end of all your sentences? You know what he said to me? Very simple. to keep myself alive. He had a great sense of humor.
That's a pretty good answer. Did he like your impression?
He loved the impression, but he used to imitate me doing him. I would say, Ray, he'd go, what is it, Reg? In other words, he would exaggerate my impression.
Right.
You know.
This is a true story. I will tell you this because I was a young boy when I first saw you on Carson. I was just a very young kid. And my brother, who since has passed, but my brother and I used to watch Carson, almost every night.
Yeah.
And there were a few nights when we missed, and my parents let us stay up and watch. And every time you were on the Carson show, my brother would say, because my brother loved you, and he would say, Rich Little's going to be on tonight. You got to stay up and watch it. And that's when we'd stay up and watch you on Johnny Carson. I remember that episode, that clip that we played in the monologue.
Gosh, I
and
don't.
It was almost like routine. My brother knew every night because I don't know if he checked TV Guide, because in TV Guide, I guess they had the guests who was going to be on Carson that
Oh,
night.
sure. Oh, sure, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yep.
so Rich Little's going to be on. Oh, wow, we got to see it tonight. Anyway,
that's
caller, you're on the air with Rich Little. Go ahead.
Morning, Rich. John, just make sure you keep your composure. That's all. But and that goes for me too. Question today. Can you do John Denver? My daughter was unable to be there, but I don't know if video is allowed, and if that's possible. He's one of my favorites. Not too many people do impressions of him or impersonate him, but is that possible? And John, can I get 2 tickets, possibly?
Yeah, I have 2 for you here. Is this Edward?
Yes, you got it.
Okay, I will save 2 for you. And this guy is one of my all-time favorites. You're right, Edward. There aren't, I don't know. Am I just out of the loop here?
Not.
Who else does impressions besides Rich Little?
Not many. Not many if there's anybody left.
No.
I just want to make sure I don't get mixed up with Little Richard and go to the right place.
Okay, all right. You know where the California Armenian home is, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I'm teasing. I'm kind of
Okay.
teasing.
All right. And by the way, I just want to say, too, Edward, just before you leave, and I'll tell the rest of the audience here watching, Rich Little is going to have a book signing today at 11:30 in the morning at Banana Republic Fig Garden Village. He is going to have a book signing on the new book. It's called Little by Little. We'll ask him in just a moment what that book is about. So if you want to get out there and get a book signing, that'd be great, too.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds real good.
Banana Republic.
Yeah.
How can I get to Cuba this fast?
Thanks, Edward. I'll have the 2 tickets for you. Thank you very much. Can you do John Denver?
Sunshine on my shoulder makes me happy. Bird poop on my shoulder makes me sad. Whatever. I don't know. He had a high voice, didn't he, John?
Yeah. Oh,
Denver?
yeah.
And he was a very nice guy. I did a show with him.
Hang on, caller.
With Doris Day. We did
Okay.
a special, and he was the guest on the show with me and Doris. And that was a great thrill to work with Doris Day. She was wonderful. Wow.
Is there a
And
big
she's still with us, She's up in Carmel, but she looked terrific.
You
This was
speak to her?
back. This was back in the late '70s, early '80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you talk to her?
Ooh.
Doris Day.
Oh yeah, I did the show with her, and she
Yeah.
was wonderful. I did a routine where I did most of her leading men
Yeah.
in movies. Kurt Douglas, and then I did Cary Grant and Clark Gable, and she was wonderful. Yeah.
Rich, is there I got to take this call here, but I just want to ask you, is there any big-time Hollywood celebrity that you haven't worked with? You've worked with just about all of them, haven't you?
Well, in variety, I didn't meet a lot of movie stars. When I was a kid growing up, I liked Humphrey Bogart, and I did meet Edward G. Robinson once, and I did an impression in front of Edward G. Robinson, and I didn't know he was deaf. So when I was doing the impression, he was reacting, but he wasn't hearing anything. And then when I finished it, he went, perfect.
Oh, wow.
Never heard a thing.
How about John Wayne?
Well, John Wayne, Duke used to say, Rich, You do my walk better than I do. Show me how you do it. I've been walking like Loretta Young for 50 years.
Caller, you're on the line, or you're on the show with Rich Little. Go ahead.
This is John. I just wanted to see about John Wayne. You asked the question I was going to ask, if he goes John Wayne or if he knew John Wayne.
Yeah.
Duke was great. He loved he loved my impression of him. He really did, and he was quite a guy. Probably one of the greatest stars, I guess, ever of all time. John Wayne. When you look at the movies and the career he had, wow,
Yeah.
lucky man, lucky
Yeah.
man.
Would you like a pair of free tickets here to tonight's show?
Absolutely. Please, thank you.
Okay, what is your first name, sir?
John, John, John.
Okay, I'll leave them here at the front desk at Ventura TV. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Got to take a quick break here, and we'll be back with our friend here on Connect with Me, Rich Little. He's performing tonight. A few tickets left. California Armenian Home. It starts at 6 o'clock with dinner. 7 o'clock is the show with the one and only Rich Little. He'll be at Fig Garden today at Banana Republic signing that new book that's out, Little by Little, and that's at 11:30 at Fig Garden Village. Back in a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer. And now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to digital channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV guide.
Hold on. Now pay attention to this. You could learn something here.
My favorite is the Jimmy Stewart roast.
Anybody could do Jimmy Stewart. Even you could do you.
And he went along with that, threw some ad libs in. Oh my gosh, the audience went crazy.
I've noticed lately that your Jimmy Stewart is just, well, it just isn't what it used to be, you know? It's slipping away. Now, would you stand up for a minute, Jim? Let me give you a few pointers here. Now, the first thing you got to do is put your hand out like this and just kind of shake it like that. That's good. That's good. That's good. Now, I want you to kind of look through the tops of your eyes and give it that. Like that. No, kind of squint them a little bit and bend over just a bit there. That's that. Now, I want you to say, I feel terrible.
And then, of course, after I show him how to do them, he went, whoa, and I said, that is the worst Jimmy Stewart I've ever heard in my life. Even the audience can do it better than that, and then the whole audience did it.
I want you to put your hands out. Now look through the tops of your eyes, and at the count of 3, everybody go, wow. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I think it was one of the best spots I've ever had on television, mainly because Jimmy had a great sense of humor and he went along with me, and he was one of the rare actors that really was funny. He was funny.
Is that the truth? One of the best spots you've ever done on TV?
Well, what made that work was we didn't rehearse it.
Oh.
And we never planned anything. And I knew what I was going to do. I was going to do an impression of him and hope he would think, you know, that it was bad, which it was, and then we play off that. But he just went along with me.
Yeah.
And he was bright, and he had a good sense of comedy, and so that worked out great. Because when I asked him to get up and do himself, he didn't know where that was going. You know?
Was there any celebrity, Rich, that really kind of resisted and kind of resented maybe any impression?
Oh yeah, Paul Lynde from Hollywood Squares. Yeah.
Okay.
Paul hated my impression.
Can you do him real quick?
Well, you know, I would do him a lot on the Dean Martin roast, and I did him a lot on Hollywood Squares.
Okay.
And every time I would do Paul, of course, they'd cut to a shot of his reaction, right? And every time I would do him, he would go, "Who's that? That's pathetic. I'll get a day job. That stinks." And, you know, so even that was funny. But he really, honestly, did not like my impression. I think maybe I did a little too feminine, you know. I don't know. Maybe I exaggerated too much. But he after a while, he didn't even talk to me.
Oh, he was that upset?
Yeah, he was
that resentful?
Yeah, he used to say,
Really?
"I think your sister does me better than you do." I said, "Paul, I don't have a sister." I know.
I don't have a sister.
I don't have a sister. But he was.
Oh, my.
You know, he was a very funny guy, Paul Lynde, and everybody liked him. And you know, but he was not a happy man. You know.
Why?
Well, I think he wanted to be a leading actor. I think he wanted his own TV show, and he was kind of a second banana, you know, if you remember him on Bewitched.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and on Hollywood Square. You know, Hollywood Squares made him, and yet he didn't like the show. He really didn't. He didn't want to do it. And sometimes, you know, when he's giving those answers with that, you know, that sour face, he's really not happy. But it was funny.
Yeah, because I can't, I never think, whenever I think of the Hollywood Squares,
yeah.
the first guy I think of is Paul Lynde.
Oh, yeah, and he was so quick with his answers.
Yeah.
"Paul, can you get an elephant drunk?" And he'd say, "Oh, sure, but you'll never get it up to your apartment." He was just quick. He was quick with his answers, you know, and that's what made him funny. He was always funny. I mean, you know.
Oh, my God, just the thought of that.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
I remember there was another one. When
Ay.
a man gives a great performance, Paul, it's customary to say, "Bravo, bravo." What do you say when a woman gives a great performance? "Mind if I smoke?" And then Peter Marshall said, "Oh, do you usually smoke after sex?" "I don't know. I never look. I steam a little."
Oh, my God.
It was partly it was not what he said, but how he said it, you know?
Yeah.
He always looked like he was sucking on a bad lemon, you know? It was just, that's disgusting, you know? But he was one of the funniest
God.
people I've ever met in my life, but you know, he
Not
was
a
just
happy guy.
Not a happy guy at all. You know, the funniest man I think I ever met in my life is Don Rickles.
Hang on, caller. I was just going to ask you about Don Rickles because, you know, not long ago, of course, the one and only passed away, and he was a good friend of yours. I assume.
Yeah, and you know, there was nobody like Don Rickles. Well, Robin Williams was close. You know,
Yeah.
They both could think very quickly. Don needed no time at all to come back with an answer. His mind was just working in overtime. And, you know, I used to love it, even when he put me down. If Don Rickles put you down, you were accepted. You know, you were that was an honor to be put down by Don Rickles, you know. And Don used to say, "Rich, why don't you put your teeth in backwards and bite yourself to death?" Anyway, gang, no, I kid you, Rich. You're going to the home, you don't know who you are. Anyway, gang, no, you know, Don was always thinking.
Yeah.
And he was pretty good right up until the end, you know.
He really was.
I didn't know he was ill, you know.
Yeah.
He just passed away suddenly because he was booked for about the next year.
When was the last time you spoke to him?
I saw him about a month ago.
Yeah. Sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one of
And
my
he said to
idols,
me,
of course.
"Are you still doing me, Rich?" I said, "Yes, I am, Don." "Any money in it?" You know.
Caller, you're on the show with Rich Little. Go ahead.
Hey, Richard Little.
Yeah.
I've been watching you since I don't know how long. I'm I'll be 77 in another couple weeks, and I just can't.
I know the
believe it.
feeling.
I'm actually talking to you.
You're
all
only,
I want to
you're
know
only
is
as
one
old
thing.
as the girls you feel, though. Remember that.
That's true.
Oh, my God.
I just want to know something. How did you get started? How do you do these impressions?
Sound
I
like
don't
Jimmy
understand
Stewart.
how you can do that.
How do I
Is
do
it
that?
Practice, or
Practice. Just work at it until you can hear it. I have the ability to hear it while I do it. Most people don't hear themselves,
But I could practice until until the end of time, and I won't be able to do one impression. How are you able to do it?
Well, I don't know. I just had that ability. I started imitating my teachers at school. That's how I started.
Yeah.
Graduated early, but I did all my teachers, and I would answer them in class in their voice.
And how did that go over?
Not well. It was usually the wrong answer. That did not go over well at all. That's why I ended up at the back of the schoolroom, and I majored in comic books.
Sir, what is your name?
Mike Richard.
Mike Richard. Okay, Mike, would you like
No,
to...
no, Richard.
Oh, Mike Richard.
No, just Richard.
Oh, just Richard.
Just
okay.
Richard.
All right. I need
Good
to
name.
adjust my hearing aid. Okay, Richard. Okay, so Richard,
Remember, John, your hearing's the second thing to go at your age.
what's the first?
Don't ask me. I can't remember.
It's already gone on me, the first.
I want to know if you want 2 free tickets to tonight's performance at the California Armenian Hall.
I'd love to take him. I'd give anything to see him tonight.
Okay,
That's great.
2 freebies will be here at Ventura TV under your name, Richard. Okay, did I get that correct?
Yes, you did.
All right, Richard. Thank you so much for
And I'm
calling
honored
in.
to be on the same phone with Richard Little. I can't believe it.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you watching
you,
and
Richard.
calling. Thank you. I'm honored to be here in the same room with you, and pleased that you're here on the show. Got to take a quick break here. Rich Little is here. He's got a book signing at Fig Garden Village at Banana Republic, 11:30 today. Little by Little is the name of the book, and a lot more to get to here on the program. 436-MeTV, option 11 to call in.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the save energy, save time, save money place. The Energy Star qualified #1 rated high efficiency Cabrio from Whirlpool Place. You heard right. Right now, save big on select Whirlpool Cabrio laundry pairs and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months. At the hometown low price, think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
Want to create something extraordinary? Create perfection. Our lifestyle appliances make it easy. KitchenAid, Ventura TV Appliance, and you, when only the best will do.
Now, Johnny Carson. You know, a lot of people think that Johnny Carson came easy for me. This is not true. At first, I had trouble doing Johnny Carson. This is back in the 70s. And then one day, I was out at the San Diego Zoo, and I was looking at the ostriches. And I suddenly realized, that's how to do Johnny Carson. Think of an ostrich. Quiet, please. A home run and a triple. A first baseman's glove, a catcher's glove, and Dolly Parton. Name 2 big hits, 2 big mitts.
Do you want to finish that sentence? And 2 big mitts and
a country western star. 2 big mitts, 2 big hits, and a country western star.
Yeah, right. Caller, you're on the show with Rich Little. Go ahead. Oh man.
I have a question for Mr. Little. What do you think about today's comedians compared to the good old era of comedy, as far as using like vulgarity and sexuality and all that stuff? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's entirely different today. Comedians today, I'm performing 5 nights a week at the Tropicana Hotel in Vegas. And right after me every night, there's the Laugh Factory, where they bring in comics, 3 at a time every week.
Modern day comics.
Modern day comics, and I watch them. And it's interesting. A lot of them don't have an act. They just go out and hope to get lucky. Where are you from? Is this your wife? What do you do for a living? They bounce off the audience. And that's risky to do that, Don Rickles can do that. I mean, he was great at that, or Robin Williams, or Jonathan Winters. But, it takes a special kind of guy they just don't have an act.
Do most comedians, Carl, I'll get back to you in a moment here, do most comedians have a plan when they go out there?
No, they don't. No, that always astounds me.
What about some of the older generation, like yourself, like Carson, and some of these guys? Did they have a plan?
Oh, they always had a plan. Even Don Rickles, who bounced off everybody by, insulting and everything, he still knew where he was going. He had things in his mind that he could do if it didn't work with the audience. But a lot of these comics today, they go out there with nothing in their head at all, and sometimes they die, and I feel bad for them. I used to see comedians occasionally on the Dean Martin roasts that were booked, and either the looking down the dais and seeing all these greats through them, and they mumbled, and sometimes they were just taken right out of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think you've got to plan something,
Yeah. Here's a guy.
And nobody tells jokes anymore either. It's all observational humor.
Here's a guy that had me on stitches. Another guy that my brother and I used to watch on the Carson Show, and we just were on. And I watch on YouTube sometimes, and I'm on the floor, kind of like you. I mean, I watch you, and sometimes I'm on stitches. I mean, just on the floor. George Wallace. I love George Wallace. Yes. I don't know if you've talked to him, met him. You probably have. What do you think of him?
Oh, I think he's one of the best.
Yeah. Now, does he plan?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He doesn't just go out and...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. If you look at all the greats like Jack Benny and George Burns and Dean Martin, even Dean, they planned. They have... Dean was a lot like Carson and a lot like Rickles. He played off the audience. And Dean's success really was when things went wrong, because he could get him out of a bad situation. I show in my show a little clip from the Dean Martin roast where Dean can't pronounce a word on the cue card, so he gets everybody up to say it. And the place turns into just a madhouse.
And everybody thinks that's planned, and it's not.
Oh, it's not planned at all.
Yeah.
We all got up. I mean, it was amazing what happened. I mean, Jack Carter got up, and Milton Berle got up, and it just went on. I did Ed Sullivan, and I fell off the stage, and it was. I showed that on my show.
Now, were those shows taped or were they live?
No, they were taped.
They were taped.
They were taped
and shown later on NBC.
Yeah, but
I
they didn't stop tape, so it was
Yeah.
basically live because they never stopped.
Yeah. Okay, caller, do you have anything else for Rich Little? Go ahead.
Well, I like to say, as the years go by and everything changes, it's nice to know that there's still the subtle touch of Mr. Little and some of the other comedians still around. I just wish the older comedians would get together and teach these young comedians what really laughter is about. Not vulgarity, not sexuality, but it's just a true joke. And I thank Mr. Little for all his brilliance and his time that he spent that he's doing his comedy. I thank you very much, and you're
very welcome.
Thank you, sir.
I think young people, if they watch the old Dean Martin roasts, because they were clean, they weren't blue at all, and they had the greatest comedians in the world on those,
Yeah.
and shows. So young people can learn a lot by watching those old shows, you know.
Yeah. Hi, caller. You're on the air with Rich Little, and what's your question or comment, please?
My comment is, I like to say, I grew up watching him. He was funny as heck. He's still funny to this day. But not to be mean, but I thought he was passed away a long time ago. Maybe he should go back on the road and have a I'm Still Alive type tour or something. But I didn't know he was in Vegas, but now it gives me a reason to want to go to Vegas. Not to be mean. That's my thing. Okay, bye.
That's funny. You should say that. You know,
my God.
You know, when my show was over at the Trop every night, I sell a lot of merchandise, a lot of TV shows, and my new book. I sell that book, and people say the darndest things to me. You would, somebody one night said to me, "Oh, Mr. Little, we're glad we saw you. We saw you tonight because the wife said you were dead, and you had passed away." And I said, "Well, yeah, sometimes I wonder, but people say the darndest things, you know."
Hang on, caller. Do we need more humor in this day and age?
Yeah, but you know, we
lacking.
we don't need cruel humor.
But isn't humor lacking in our society today? Because
yeah,
everything
but
is so
if, you know,
serious.
if you look at Alec Baldwin doing Trump, it's pretty mean spirited. You know,
so you
sometimes.
don't care for that.
Well, I think you go over the line. You know, I don't think you should want to make a point politically and put them down. If it's clever, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't think you should imitate somebody that you just don't like.
Okay, now you performed at, I'll get to you in a moment, caller. Hang on, please. You performed at two of the White House Correspondent Dinners, right?
Yes.
Reagan in '84, I believe, and
Right.
George W. Bush in 2007.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you ever think about, and you had prepared material at the White House, you were going to the White House.
Right.
Did you ever think in the back of your mind, gee, maybe I should just throw in just a little bit of a hard dig at the president?
Well, at the Correspondents' Dinner, they want you to be, to attack somebody and, say some things about the president that maybe you wouldn't ordinarily. But I didn't want to do that, and especially with him sitting there.
Yeah.
So if you're too biting, you get criticized for that. You weren't respectful. But if you just did your regular act, they'd say, "Oh, he's just doing his Vegas act," So you have to walk that fine line. But
how were you received by both presidents,
very
Reagan and
well,
Bush?
very well, especially at the Bush Correspondents' Dinner. He and Laura were laughing. I mean, really laughing. But the rest of the audience wasn't reacting at all. They were all talking.
Yeah.
The trouble with the Correspondents' Dinner is it's a social event, and everybody talks, and nobody pays any attention. I had some people there that I knew, and I performed, and they didn't know I was on the show.
Amazing.
Yeah, they were too busy talking.
Now, where is that Correspondents' Dinner held in the White House? Is it
No,
the
it's
East
not
Room?
it's not in the White House.
It's not.
No, it's usually it was at a hotel, I think.
It's at a hotel.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
not on the White House grounds at all.
No, probably the Marriott. I can't remember, but it wasn't in the White House. No.
But you've been invited to the White House, though.
Oh yeah, I
Many
went to the
times,
White
right?
House many times
Many
with Reagan.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
how were you treated there by the
Oh
president?
well, Reagan was the greatest.
Yeah.
One time he said to me, "Rich," he said, "I think you do me better than I do. I don't know whether I'm me or you're me. I was thinking that when I pass away, they should bury you."
Caller, you're on the show with Rich Little.
Thank you so much for taking my call. And Mr. Little, I'm a big fan. I'm only 54, and I knew you were still alive. So maybe some of your older fans don't know, but I think you're absolutely wonderful. I watched on
Thank
the
you.
Dean Martin roast, and one of my questions is, and I don't know if it's really pertinent to everything, but because you perform for Republican presidents, are you a conservative?
Oh yeah, I'm a conservative. Yeah.
What do you think about, I wanted to ask you one thing regarding impressions, but let me ask you first about Stephen Colbert's rant the other night about President Trump and some of the
Awful.
in terrible language. And you talked about a kinder, gentler type of humor, even if you didn't agree, and double entendre and maybe innuendo, things weren't so blue. What do you think when we see this on national television? I just think that we're really going down the wrong path, and don't comics have a responsibility?
Absolutely. I think that was very disrespectful.
On Colbert's part?
Oh, yeah, he went way too far.
Should he have been
We know
reprimanded,
he's a liberal and he doesn't like Trump, but you know there is you know some. I mean, you can't just go attack somebody, you know, and think that's funny.
Yeah.
No,
Now, the
he was
one
really
thing.
over the line.
You went
One
way
thing-
over the line,
one
way
thing
over the
about-
line. It was terrible.
One thing about Carson is you never knew where he stood politically.
That's right. You never knew, did you?
No.
No. No.
Well, I wanted to say that you're just before I got on, you did an impression of Ronald Reagan, and I really think some of your impressions of him are just so spot on, and I would encourage you to do more. I love it when you talk like the aloof Ronald Reagan, or when he's talking to Nancy. And then I had one other question about, I don't know if you would consider him an impressionist, but Foster Brooks did a great impression of somebody that was inebriated, and I understood he never really drank. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Foster. I never saw Foster really drink ever.
Oh.
I know Dean did, but I never saw Foster drink. I never saw him, you know, inebriated or anything like that. He was an act, you know. But
Yeah.
it's interesting. He would have a tough time doing that if he was alive today.
Yeah.
Because, you know, back then you could get away with doing drunk jokes.
Yeah.
But then it became very sensitive, you know, drunk drivers and things like that. And so, but anyway, Foster Brooks, I was so drunk. I was so drunk last night, the poor guy couldn't see me.
Can you do? Because I'm going to show one of the videotapes here in just a moment about you doing the impressions of some of the presidents, but the one that struck me the most is Reagan. Is how you just give that stare, and you don't say anything. And can you do that right now?
Well, you know, Reagan had that sort of bewildered look. How did you people get in my room? You know, you know what? That's interesting you should say that. I've got pictures at home of me at the White House talking to Reagan after some performance, and he would stand around after and we'd chat. And I always noticed in all the pictures he was glued to you. I mean, he did not look away at all when you were talking. He's just glued. And I thought, boy, what concentration, you know?
Yeah.
And I realized years later what that was all about. He was interested, all right, but he was reading your lips.
He was.
He couldn't hear very well. I don't think his hearing was very good at all. He was reading your lips. That's why he was glued to you.
Did you ever see a hearing aid?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think that happened because he made all those westerns, you know, and Jimmy Stewart, the same thing. The blanks, you know,
the shot. Yeah.
Being fired in your ear.
Mm-hmm.
And both Jimmy Stewart and Ronald Reagan were hard of hearing.
Yeah. Now, was Reagan the president that you became close friends with?
Yeah.
The closest?
Oh, yeah.
Out of all of them?
Jimmy Stewart and Ronald Reagan were two people I knew the best.
But of all
and Jack Benny, too. I knew Jack quite well.
But of all the presidents that you were closest to Reagan?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Did he ever invite you to the ranch out here in California?
No, I never went to the ranch, but I went up to their private quarters at the White House.
Oh, you did?
And Nancy served me tea and some cookies.
Wow.
And I remember there were jelly beans on the table.
That's quite an honor. I mean, to be in the residence part of the White House, which many people don't get a chance to see, it's got to be etched in your memory.
Oh yeah, that was a big thrill for me to go up their private quarters. You know.
Yeah.
And I
Secret
remember
Service all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you'd see a potted plant in the corner, and it really wasn't a plant at all. You'd see some shoes sticking out the bottom. It was a Secret Service man. They were all over the place, you know.
I would imagine. Yeah, they patted you down. Did they pat you down?
At night when they went to bed, Reagan would say to Nancy, good night, Nancy. Nancy, and the whole room would go, good night, Mr. President, good night.
Did you get patted down before you went in there?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Oh, sure.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
yeah. They took no chances, you know.
Yeah.
One time I was late, and I was going to some function at the White House I was invited to, and I was late, and I was running down the hallway, and Reagan was giving a press conference.
Oh, my God.
And, you know, right outside the room where we were having lunch. And he looked up at me and said, "Rich, thank God you're here. You do me better than I do. You finish this damn press conference. I'm going for a cucumber sandwich."
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Gosh, I wish we had 2 hours with you today. It's unbelievable. I mean, we're almost
just
out of
have
time
a
already.
real quick request. I wonder if he could do Jack Benny. I mean, you grew up watching him too.
Okay.
That's just it. That's all I wanted to say.
Sure. Thank you. All right, Jack Benny.
Jack Benny. You know, Jack was one of the nicest people I've ever met in show business. He was a sweetheart, and he was not stingy, you know. I remember one time, years ago, at the Sands Hotel, I came in from seeing a show and having breakfast, and it was about 2 in the morning, and there was Jack at one of the slot machines. The nickel machine, for heaven's sake. He was playing the nickel machine at 2 in the morning. I said, "Jack, it's 2 in the morning. What are you doing?" "I'm going to stay here until my string breaks." You know. But he was a wonderful man. I just adored Jack. And George Burns, too.
Was Nixon mad at you for the impressions you did on him?
No.
He wasn't?
No, I once did Nixon right in front of him, and he didn't know who I was doing.
Oh, okay. Let's roll the videotape, Carrie, if you can. Let's do the Nixon impression real quick. We'll take a look at that.
But my favorite politician by far was always Ronald Reagan. Who the hell are you? You know, I had a pretty good career, considering the fact that I didn't even finish college. And a reporter over at the Times found out about this, and he asked me point blank. He said, "Mr. President, were you a dropout?" I said, "What?" He said, "Were you a dropout?" I said, No, I was cesarean. I wasn't a dropout.
All right, that wasn't Richard Nixon, but that was Ronald Reagan. And
Doing
that's,
Richard Nixon.
Yeah. Anyway, we have a caller waiting. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Mr. Little, of course, since you're here in the Central Valley, I was wondering if you know any impersonations of any famous Mexican characters or any, like Red Fox or Richard Pryor, anything like that? And one more question after that, real quick. Do you have a website where we can look to buy your videos and stuff like that? I'll take my comments off the air.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your call. I know that you have a book. It's called Little by Little.
Right.
You're going to be selling that and signing books at Fig Garden Village here in about 40 minutes or so. You can buy the book at richlittle.com. What's your book about, real quick?
Well, it's funny things that have happened with me and celebrities down through the years. It's not a bio,
Okay.
you know. And it's, I think it's a funny book. I think you'll get a kick out of it. Of course, it depends on your age. You know, I mean, I talk about Dean Martin and Jack Benny and John Wayne and Orson Welles, Bing Crosby, all these people I worked with, Julie Andrews and Judy Garland. And I talk about a lot of people. And the thing is that funny things would happen to me. And I was lucky because I used to keep a diary. And if something funny happened, I would write it down in my diary. And so when I was writing the book, I could refer to that. Otherwise, I might not have remembered everything, you know. So it's a humorous book.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to know the people that I'm talking about, you know.
And quickly, I didn't know until I read your bio that you were born in Canada.
Yes.
And Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. You were the middle of 3 sons.
Right.
Your father or mother was a doctor.
My father was a doctor.
Okay.
A neurologist.
Okay. All right, he was a neurologist.
Yeah, I knew he was a neurologist. When I was a kid, he told me to piss off.
Okay, and
That's a bad joke.
According to the bio, you got started with a guy named Jeff Scott.
Yes.
Who was Jeff Scott?
He was my partner when I was a kid. We were a dual impersonator act. We both did impressions.
And you worked as an usher to like a movie theater in
Yes.
Ottawa, and you stood at the back of the theater
Yeah.
doing impressions. And how did that go over?
I stood in the back of the theater watching the movie, and people were stumbling trying to find their seats.
And you were doing
I was
impressions?
the worst usher. Huh?
But you were doing impressions back there,
I
right?
was learning to do impressions by watching the movie.
Hang on, caller.
I watched the movie Marty 33 times. And when I met Ernest Borgnine, I started doing all the dialogue. And you know what he said to me? Well, I don't even remember that, for heaven's sakes. I don't remember any of those lines, you know?
That's how you got your start, by watching this movie over and over, and
Yeah.
then you started impersonating. Yeah, hi, hang on 1 second, caller. And then you started doing nightclubs at the age of 17, I read?
Yeah, well, I started doing shows like, Shriner Conventions, Knights of Columbus, and,
Wow.
shows around Ottawa, which is in Canada, the capital city. That's where I was born.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of shows as a teenager. And I
Hang on,
worked
caller.
a lot with Paul Anka in those days, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello, Rich Little?
Yeah.
Hello, Rich
Still
Little.
alive.
Go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Hello, this is Rich.
Yeah. We can't hear you.
Go ahead. You might want to turn your...
This is Richard Lee. I'd like to talk to Rich Little.
Yeah, turn
I'm
your...
an impressionist, just like you.
Yeah.
I would love to do Johnny Carson with you.
Okay. He can do
This is
Johnny.
Hello.
Yeah,
This
okay.
is Richard Lee. I'm an impressionist, just like you.
All right. Thank you very much. I think that was a request to do Johnny Carson.
I can imitate him. I want you Rich Johnny Carson.
I think she had her TV up too loud.
I
I'm probably
think so.
getting
That's what
feedback.
happens.
Yeah.
They hear the feedback.
Yeah, well.
What is she? Was that a woman?
I think so, but I'm not. I can't say 100% sure. Anyway, so
What was the question? Do you
I
remember?
think Johnny Carson maybe.
Oh, Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Well, did you hear that thieves last night broke into the police department right here in Fresno? Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
And they stole all their toilet seats. So far the police have nothing to go on.
Can you do me real quick? You haven't known me that long, all of about, 55 minutes.
Well, I could probably do you, talk like this. Rich Little's our guest today. And,
Hey, I want to play one more.
I want to play one more.
Well, I may not have time now. I'm getting a lot of calls. You got a lot of calls today. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Rich Little.
Yeah, I just want to ask Rich, what did you think about Don Rickles' kind of humor when he did the celebrity roast? Because I ran into him one time many years back at Dodger Stadium, and my being a heavyset guy, I was walking up to my seat, and then he just kind of chimed at me and said, "Oh, thank God, about Tommy Lasorda wasn't managing today." And so I was just wondering, what kind of humor do you think Don Rickles was like?
Thank you.
Well, as I said earlier, Dom is the funniest man I've ever seen in my life. I used to sit on the dais of the roast and with tears in my eyes. I was laughing so hard. I remember one time I fell off the chair because, as I said earlier, Don was so quick. And nothing fazed Don at all. Absolutely. He could talk to... I saw him with Reagan at the White House, and he was going after Reagan, and I thought, oh, my God, he's going to be deported. But Reagan was screaming at him, just absolutely howling at him.
Let's play the videotape of Don Rickles. It's called Rich Dream, Carrie. Rich Dream. We'll play that one.
Ago, I had a dream about Don Rickles. Just my luck. Actually, it was more a nightmare. I dreamt that all the world's major political leaders had gathered at the White House in Washington for a conference to bring peace to the world. And in my dream, Don Rickles was President of the United States. And he was greeting them all. Now, here are some of the things that President Rickles was saying in my dream. King Faisal of Saudi Arabia, so glad you could come. Hope you find a parking place for your camel. Anyway, May I say something, Your Highness? And I say this from the bottom of my heart. You gotta be the ugliest king I've ever seen in my life. You. Your face was a building and be condemned. Anyway, gang. Mopsy tongue. Oh, I love you. You're a wonderful little guy. You little taggy. You. I know you got a lot on your mind, but try and remember next time, no starch on the collar, huh? Fidel Castro, what are you doing here tonight, you hockey puck? What'd you do, get a note from the Russians saying you could take the night off? Incidentally, is that a beard or you sticking your head under your armpit?
Well, you know what? The old term, they don't make them like they used to. That the old, the celebrity roast. It's gone by the wayside. Obviously, there'll never be anything like that again.
Well, there'll never be comedians like that again, ever. The greatest comedians of all time are on those shows. I did 24 of those Dean Martin roasts. I think I did more than anybody.
You think that's the greatest generation as far as comedians are concerned?
Oh yeah. I really do, yeah. I mean, it was astounding to look down the dais and see all those great people that I idolized as a kid, you know?
Yeah. Hi, caller, you're on the air with Rich Little. Go ahead. Turn your TV set. Yeah, turn your TV set down.
Well, this is Richard Lee. So I'm not a woman. I want to do Johnny Carson with Rich Little.
Okay. All righty. Okay, what's your question? You got a question real quick?
I like Rich. I've been watching Rich Little, and I can do the impression of Johnny Carson with you. Can I do an impression with you?
Well, I don't know if we have, how much time, Carrie, do we have? We only have 2 minutes, so we're very short on time.
Oh, okay.
What is he gonna do?
I'll do an impression of Ronald Reagan then. Okay, can I do Ronald Reagan with you?
Okay, sure.
Well, it's been a long time. You know, I just can't have it no more. You know, heaven is a great place to be with Nancy, you know. It's a great place. I just seen Johnny and everybody. Oh, boy. Oh.
Okay.
Looking up and...
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was pretty good, but don't give up your day job.
Carrie, how much time? I got 1 minute. Okay, California Armenian Home tonight. 6 o'clock is the dinner. 7 o'clock is the show. And then the book signing takes place at 11:30 this morning. That's in a half hour at Fig Garden Village, Banana Republic. It's called Little by Little. And you can buy the book if you want at richlittle.com. And doggone it, I wish we had another hour. You're it's a pleasure to meet you. You're one of my idols.
It's a pleasure to meet you too.
Thank you so much for giving me so much humor throughout my life. I appreciate it.
Well, now that I have your voice down, I don't know what to do with it.
You want to close the show out? I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, well, we certainly are thrilled to have Rich Little on the show today.
Dennis Hart's going to be here Monday, by the way.
Dennis Hart's going to be here on Monday. I won't be here, but Dennis will be here.
Okay. See you back here Monday.
See you back
Rich,
here
thank
Monday.
you.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
If you have a need to promote your business or event, please consider MeTV Fresno for your next campaign. MeTV reaches over 100,000 of your potential customers in the Fresno area every single week. Plus, you can rest assured that your commercial is running in the greatest family-friendly programs of all time. MeTV Fresno delivers a strong, loyal audience ready to buy, and your campaign will cost a fraction of what you're paying for your advertising now. Call me today to find out how affordable MeTV is at 905-1925.
And away we go.
Here's a place that makes you smile. Stick around and stay a while. We're the home of great TV. That's memorable. That's me.
Follow me, sir.
Call them classics, call them the best. Call them favorites, be our guest. Every day there's more to come. Watch and see, there's only one. Me TV.
All you have to do is watch me.
Are you kidding me?
Follow me.
That's memorable, that's me. That's me. Me TV.
Hi, I'm Joseph Castro, president of Fresno State. Here on campus and around the Central Valley, we take great pride in Bulldog Red. We also take pride in our diversity.